Notice Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. And let's begin reading at verse number 5. I'm going to begin reading at verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. God already talking to some of us. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. Look at a neighbor and tell your neighbor, our subject this morning. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Look at somebody else, tell him or her the subject. Say, the subject this morning, don't be wise in your own eyes. Our theme or our primary focus for this year is to walk in divine wisdom. So our primary focus this year is that we want to be purposed, or we want to be fixed or determined to walk in divine wisdom. Now, divine has to do with wisdom that is from above, a wisdom that is godly, a wisdom that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And according to Solomon, the Lord gives wisdom. Out of his mouth come knowledge and understanding. And so I want to be purposed this year to walk in divine wisdom. I want to be so purposed to walk in divine wisdom that even when I go through trials and tribulations, I will not allow trouble to pull me off of the path of walking in divine wisdom. I want to be so fixed and so purposed this year to walk in divine wisdom that before I make a decision, I want to acknowledge God so that he can do according to his word, which is to direct me in the paths that I need to go. And a lot of us are here this morning that we can admit and testify that when you acknowledge God, when you seek God for wisdom, he will in fact release it or pour it out into your life. Now listen, I'm not just talking about God giving you wisdom when it comes to spiritual things. How many are in the house this morning that can admit that God has been giving you wisdom and showing you a better way to deal with natural things? The bottom line is that if you're purposed to walk in divine wisdom, God is going to make sure that that wisdom changes every aspect of your life for the better. And so that's the reason I can boldly decree that this is going to be one of the best years of my life, because I am fixed a purpose to walk in divine wisdom. I am fixed a purpose when it comes to seeking God before I make a move. I am purpose and fixed to seek God before I just decide to do something in and of myself. Oh, shout to somebody, he right about that this year. See, whenever a man begins to be wise in his or her own eyes, you are shutting down the wisdom that God desires to give you. It actually has to do with a person, in my opinion, that has become prideful, and a person who feels as if God cannot help them or God does not desire to help them. And so they begin to be wise in their own eyes. Let's deal with 4 things that Solomon says that we need to do. Number 1, he says that we need to trust God. One of the do's that Solomon mentions in the 3rd verse, in the 5th verse, is that we need to trust in the Lord. Now, the type trust that Solomon is talking about is absolute trust, because notice that he says trust in the Lord, not with some of your heart, but with all of your heart. In other words, the heart represents our feelings, our mindset, but primarily I want you to receive that the heart of a man is not necessarily the organ that pumps blood through the body, which is in and of itself important, but heart in the text again deals with your feelings, your mindset, and your choices. See, this is important because a lot of saints will say with their mouth that they trust God, but when you look at their heart or their choices, it suggests that they're trusting something else. See, whenever you put your job above doing the will of God, it says to God that in your heart you are not trusting him, you are the job. Anytime you put your money before God, you are saying to God that my heart is with my money. Anytime you trust man more so than you trust God, you are saying again to him that I do not trust you with all of my heart. Is it wrong to trust man? No, but absolute trust is reserved for God and God alone. The only time we should trust man is when God permits or allows us to trust in somebody, then we're okay to do so. But we never put all of our confidence in man. Is that belittling man? No, but it is putting man in his or her rightful place. Listen, no matter how smart the person may be, no matter how educated the person may be, no matter what position the person may hold in this earthly realm, we still choose to trust the Lord with all of our heart, because according to the Bible, it is God that lifts one up and brings one down. And so when it comes to absolute trust, I'm going to reserve that for God. I'm going to reserve absolute trust to a God that can't fail. I'm going to reserve absolute trust to a God that has never made a mistake. I'm wondering, does anybody in here put all of your trust in God? You put it in him when things are wonderful, and you keep it there when things start to go bad. Oh, you put it in him when folks are praising you, but you also have absolute trust in him when folks are stabbing you in the back, because you are made up in your mind that can't nobody but nobody do you like the Lord. That's the reason I'm going to trust God, because he has been better to me than anybody. Now I wonder, do I have somebody in church this morning? You are a radical praiser because you understand that God is the one that brought you from the bottom to the top. He is the one that saved you. He's the one that healed you. He's the one that delivered you. Who am I preaching to this morning? That your absolute trust is in God. Even when man say no, you recognize that God has the final say. You are so bold in your confidence toward God that even when man says no, you can yet turn in victory, knowing that it's so despite what man has said. Oh, give God a praise right now. You recognize that God is able to turn a situation completely around. Oh my God, I feel like preaching that for about 10 seconds. Sometimes he'll turn it around real fast, but then sometimes he'll step back and he'll let it turn real slow. But nevertheless, he can turn a situation around. Give him a praise if you know this morning he turning some stuff around for you. Stuff that folks said wasn't going to happen, he turning it around.